So Volk versus Lopes 1 was funny because Alexander Volkanovski spent the entire fight circling to his right. Basically didn't go the other way at all. And that contrasts with Volk versus Topuria, where he spent the entire fight circling to his left. Circling to his right takes him away from Lopes' right hand, which Lopes is very bad following him with. We'll get into it in a bit, but this ain't good punching form, this ain't good moving form. Constantly circling to his right also sets up the step up inside low kick, which is a Alexander Volkanovski favourite. Because if he keeps stepping this foot out this way anyway, why would you be surprised when he does that? Step up and out, low kick. Lovely technique, sets up counters as against Yair Rodriguez. I wrote a big article on this specifically called Alexander Volkanovski Advanced Striking 2.0, which is on the Patreon. And Volk used this lateral movement to set up his jab really well because he got Lopes following him, and also put his feet on a line in a really cool way. So two little footwork techniques here. One's called an L step, which is that. Lead foot comes back, rear foot shoots off to the side. And this is really good for if you've got a boundary at your back, because you get this extra space by pulling this lead leg back to sidestep off into. Very good for getting off the cage or the ropes. So L step and into. That is very unusual to see in striking. Alexander Volkanovski's probably not making a mistake, but it is unusual to cross step, taking this foot past the line of this foot, because you get very off balance, as you saw with Arnold Allen getting knocked over coming out of exchanges with John Silver the other day. But he does it loads in this fight because he does this weird thing where it puts his feet on a line. And Lopes has been turning and following him round, and he shoots forward and pops him in the nose. Does it again there. L step, cross step, pop. Cross step, pop. And he was cross-stepping just throughout this fight to set up this jab. It's very interesting because Volkanovski's got long arms for his height, but he's still much shorter than his opponent. So he's jabbing up, he's giving up height and range, and he still jabs them loads. And that seems to be one of the little secrets to doing that. Here's a nice example of a right low kick that puts his feet on a line again, setting him up to pop him with the jab. Followed by a cross step again, and pops him again. Watch how his feet always get into this like sprung ready to go position before he pops them with the jab. So this contrasts interestingly with his fight with Topuria, where he spends a lot of it circling left. And two things that Topuria was able to do were hammer that low kick. Topuria throws very few kicks, but when he does, they count. He did exactly the same thing to Max Holloway. He threw like 3 low kicks, and they all really fucked Max up. And it also meant that Topuria could try and time the right hands across the top like that. But in that movement to his left, he was looking to land or throw lots of jabs and then land high kicks and body kicks behind them. Obviously, the few times Topuria's been hurt, it's been like left hooks, left high kicks, because he's very good at getting down behind his shoulder on this side. But on this side, it's only ever this arm protecting him. So like the first thing Volkanovski did was flick out the jab and try and high kick into this space behind that right hand. And of course, circling to his left and throwing inside low kicks and things got him caught here, got him backed onto the fence. So here's another low kick, well timed as he was moving around. And a right hand under the jab here, pressures him to the fence, gets the job done, lovely stuff. Which brings us on to what sucks about Diego Lopes, and it's his footwork, and I think he'd probably agree with me on that. I've seen him in interviews say that he sucks at moving his feet. It's a team trait. Everyone from Team Lobo, they'll get their opponent behind the black line, and then they'll back the fuck off and let them come back into the middle. Or they'll get them behind the black line, keep them under pressure for a second, and then back off when they get shown a feint. And give them space to run out again. Crazy, eh? And the absolute goat of bad footwork from Team Lobo, Irene Aldana. Just, this is really hopeless. Look at that. Just a gaping hole over to her right side that Norma Dumont just runs through over and over again in this fight. And she had one with Holly Holm that was exactly the same. Made Holly Holm look like a monstrous hitter, just because she kept walking onto the punches. So lest you think I'm just being mean, let's explain how this works. Demont is already sliding along that way, on the fence. Once she got too close to the fence, she had to pick either this way or this way. She's gone this way. So Irene Aldana needs to step across here. And the reason this is called cutting the ring is because you can't just go, sorry mate, you're only working in this section, but you can go, you're only working in this section. Or even this section. And you make that smaller and smaller as they get closer to the fence. But to do that, you have to step across, you have to square up a lot of the time, you have to make yourself present, so there's not really a way of doing it where you're unhittable. What you can't do is pivot round behind your left foot and just follow them this way. But she do that. So Diego Lopes fought this fight the one way he could lose, standing in the center of the cage as a counter fighter and not actually pressuring Volkanovski towards the fence. Most of the time he would attack with one combination or attempt, and Volk would be allowed to circle right back round onto the big monster can. Or it'd be shit like this where he's just staring at him near the fence. He throws one combination, Volk circles out, and back round again onto the big monster can. The one time he was actually cooking was late in round 4, where Volk hit him a couple of times here. He chased him back with a double jab. Beautiful way to make distance. Move this man this way. Because for all the moving this way and this way, trying to slowly encroach on him, there are times when you just need to move him back. Especially when the octagon is gigantic and the corners are much less steep than in a ring. Makes an exchange here. Cuts Volk open. Continues making exchanges. This is what you want to see. Forces a bad shot. This is all out of pressure. This is pressure that just was absent for most of the fight. For pressure done right, you just need to look at Topuria, slowly taking away space, marching him towards the fence. And the reason that being next to the fence is so important is that Volkanovski's going to come in and out, doing his V-steps, doing his cool step up inside low kicks, jabbing and pulling straight back. He does a lot of retreating to correct the distance. Okay, so quick diagram. This is Volkanovski. This is his opponent. Here are all the ways he can move to get away from his opponent. And there's the fucking wall. So it makes actually making stuff happen a hell of a lot easier. And you'll notice here that Topuria has to use his presence to actually make this pressure in the first place. So this is not so much an occupational hazard as just something you have to accept. But moments later he's starting to steal the initiative, and he's always collapsing that space towards the fence, giving Volkanovski nowhere to go. And on the subject of double jabs, here's some nice ones moving Volk. The whole point of the double jab is that the guy gives up ground. The really frustrating thing is that this produces an exchange. Volk's in bad ring position here, right up against the cage, and Lopes just sits back and lets him circle back round. Same shit, different round. So something that stood out during this fight was Lopes' right hand when he throws it not as an uppercut. Like that. This is partly because Volkanovski's circling past his lead foot and making him lengthen it, but Volk's not forcing him to stand like this. Look, centre of gravity here, head over here, back foot a day's ride behind him. Makes it very hard to follow up. Lots of examples in this fight. And this is a nice time to highlight the GOAT. This is Jose Aldo. He was the best in the world from like 2008 until 2016. He got old, he slowed down, he stopped being the most athletic guy in the division. He retired and went to boxing, then he came back and beat 2 top 15 guys in his division 20 years into his MMA career. And he's cool as hell. And the reason I want to highlight him is because this is something he developed for like his last fight or his second last fight. Taking his feet with him. Watch how fast both feet move when he's punching, so that he is always in range. Martinez moves back there quite a long way, and he stays in range throughout. And the reason I love this is that Aldo used to shoot shots like this, and instead of like head, hips, a little bit forward, his head would have been out over here, and this back leg would have stayed here. But here he snaps it up real fast, so that he could have kept going if he wanted to. Look at that right foot. Straight up, underneath him. And it means that he can move and catch guys on the end, like that with the left hook. Even when he goes to the body. Back foot comes up real quick. So you can extend your stance, you just need to move both feet and keep it moving forwards, which is something that Lopes doesn't really do. But it's something that Jose Aldo didn't really do until he was like 50 years old. I got loads of articles about Volkanovski on the Patreon, and I'll be talking more about him on the Patreon Boycast later this week. Cheers!